Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got 3 replays in the Western Alliance Era 2 Tech Tree MBT, the Chieftain Mk5. Now if you do like the video as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the Chieftain Mk5. This is a vehicle that I'm still grinding through to get towards the Chieftain Mk11, the Charlie 1 and the Charlie 2. I'm really not looking forward to the Chieftain Mk11 in Era 3. But anyway, we're on the grind still, and this is actually 3 games in a row in this vehicle, as I decided to play it a couple of times just to try and get a bit more XP on it, you know, work my way towards those Era 3 challenges. And yeah, we had some pretty nice games to go along, and 3 in a row was always quite nice as well. And the Chieftain Mk5 is a tank that, when I got it, I was fairly disappointed in it, and I don't think that's changed, to be honest. It's capable, you can have a decent time with it. The gun's absolutely lovely. The mobility's a bit iffy for Era 2. Not horrific, but it's not great either. It's just one of those, and generally, I was fairly underwhelmed with the Chieftain Mk5, because the armour on this tank means very little either. You think Chieftain Mk6 in World War II, and you think hull down God, right? The turret is fantastic except for the cupola. You go hull down, you're going to shred everything with a fantastic gun. And you still get a good gun on this tank, but the armour means very, very little, and you get penned very, very easily. The other problem is very weak ammo rack. The ammo rack on this vehicle is poor, and any ATGM that drives straight through that drive wheel, or big caliber gun that goes through that drive wheel on the right hand side, tends to ammo rack it. Very much the same as the Chieftain Mk11. The Chieftain Mk11 is worse for that than the Chieftain Mk5, but generally it's still got a very weak ammo rack on this vehicle. But having played about 12 or 13 games in it to get a bit more XP on it, for which I didn't actually really have a bad game in it, which was quite nice. But 12 or 13 games in it to be able to get a bit more XP on it, get closer to those challenges, that sort of thing, I never got ammo racked. And that's because we now have the reinforced internals alongside safe stowage, which generally reduces the chances of getting ammo racked by quite a bit. So that's quite nice for the Chieftain Mk5 with the new crew and equipment skills. So yeah, generally when I was playing this vehicle, I was getting ammo racked 1 in every 2 or 3 games. So to play 12 or 13 games and never get ammo racked was actually lovely in the Chieftain Mk5, to be honest. But yeah, it's one that I was thoroughly underwhelmed with, and I still am not that impressed by the Chieftain Mk5, honestly, because the Conqueror before it, I'd have to play the Conqueror now with the crew and equipment changes, but the Conqueror before it was just better in most ways. Had slightly less alpha, but the DPM was better, the mobility was better, the armour was basically the same in the fact that you could ricochet the odd shell here and there, but for the most part got penned by everything. You had great shell velocity on the HE and also on the premium round as well, and generally it was just a pretty nice grind, the Conqueror. And then you got to the Chieftain Mk5 and you felt like you were just playing a worse tank. And that's just, yeah, the way it's always been for me with this Chieftain. So with the Chieftain Mk5, I have a 54.07 km/h top speed, a 26.98 km/h reverse speed, 787.5 horsepower, which is 13.98 horsepower per ton ratio. So the horsepower per ton ratio for the Chieftain Mk5 isn't the greatest in the universe, and it means that it's a little bit sluggish to get up to that top speed, and any kind of incline tends to take your speed away in this vehicle, which is where the Conqueror is nicer, because the Conqueror has that 15 point something horsepower per ton ratio, so it actually gets to its top speed quicker, and it's got the same top speed if you run the turbo now, whereas before it actually went up to 60, which felt like a medium tank in the Conqueror, which was a bit weird. But yeah, the mobility generally on this vehicle is fairly sluggish. Ground resistances don't hold the tank back whatsoever. 10% internal fire chance with what we've got running as well is on the lower end of fire chances, and yeah, it's not really been set on fire that often for me. The big problem for this vehicle was always getting ammo racked, which, again, not really suffered too badly with running reinforced internals and safe stowage. 43.3 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed means this tank does turn pretty quickly on its tracks, which is nice. It makes it feel that little bit more nimble, though. 521 meters of view range means you can spot for yourself pretty nicely in the Chieftain Mk5 here in Era 2. A 46.31 degree a second turret rotation speed is faster than the tracks, and the turret rotation speed is pretty quick, which is good, but obviously we're running rapid aim to get that to that point. 0.66 accuracy during rotation is pretty damn good, with a 0.99 accuracy during movement. Now that is without the gun stabilizer, so that is fantastic stabilization on this gun. You don't really need to run the gun stabilizer because those two are fantastic, and the aim circle doesn't really bloom out that badly in the Chieftain Mk5, which is glorious. And you've got a 1.44 second aim time with the build that we run as well, which means you do aim this gun in supremely fast as well. So even if the aim circle does bloom out, it doesn't take long to get the gun aimed in. The gun is absolutely fantastic on the Chieftain Mk5, same as it is on the Conqueror directly before it. As you've got 0.25 accuracy at 100 meters as well, which means it's a pretty accurate gun. It's actually less accurate than the Conqueror as well, which is like, that's why I say the Conqueror is just one of those vehicles that comes before it that's just, it feels better to play in general. I'm going to have to play the Conqueror again now in this new day and age, right? But I always preferred the Conqueror to the Chieftain Mk5 when I was grinding it. It's kind of why I lost motivation to grind the Chieftain Mk5, because I was getting Armour all the time, and I was sitting there playing it going, yeah, I'm not really enjoying this, you know. The Conqueror was... I went from enjoying the Conqueror, to, which surprised me, to playing this and going, oh, yeah, fun. We've got a 7.27 second reload on this Chieftain Mk5, which with 10 degrees of gun depression is very flexible on a ridgeline. You can use that pretty good DPM that this vehicle's got on these ridgelines, like you're seeing here, really nicely. As you've got that nearly 4.4k DPM, it's 4,373 DPM you've got on the Chieftain Mk5, which is very, very nice here in Era 2 at this day and age. 418 penetration on the standard APDS rounds, with 483 penetration on the premium APDS rounds is very, very good penetration. That is better than the Conqueror, but marginally in terms of what's nice and useful, right? Because the Conqueror still got very, very good penetration with 450 odd on its premium as well, and 408 on its standard, I think it is, which is more than usable in Era 2, and you can pen everything you're going to face with those two anyway. But 418 and 483 is nice. It's the same gun that you get on the Chieftain Hybrid 120, which, like I say, it's a very, very good gun. 290 on the HESH pen is also fantastic for 680 damage, and you want to use and abuse the HESH rounds wherever you can. As we finished that first game with a fairly average total there for the Chieftain Mk5, the 6.6k damage, the 1280 assistance, you saw a bit of the bad there of the vehicle, where occasionally the gun is a little bit derpy. That's because Cold War accuracy sometimes lies. And also the armour. As soon as you poke anywhere, you just get penned all the time, because this tank, even though it's a beast in World War II, because the penetration is so much higher here in Cold War, the armour just means nothing. But yeah, that 290 HESH pen is fantastic. 680 alpha on that HESH is glorious, honestly. You need to use and abuse it where you can, and that's where the ammo swapper comes into play. It's why we carry so much HESH. Just like on the Chieftain Hybrid 120, use it and abuse it, because it ups your DPM massively, and there is so many vehicles you can pen with 290 HESH pen as well. So many. It's beautiful. But the downside, compared to the Conqueror, which has HESH as well, that's glorious at 260 pen, and that pen is just the same as what you pen with the 290. That's got 660 alpha on the Conqueror. But the shell velocity on the Conqueror's HESH is 778 meters a second shell velocity, which is slow. And again, it feels a little bit loopy at times, but it's manageable. Whereas on the Chieftain Mk5, the shell velocity is 660 meters a second, which means when you try and use those HESH rounds at distance, it feels really unwieldy, and they tend to just loop and feel a bit derpy in the way that they go as well, which can be a bit frustrating. But they are rounds to use at fairly close range, where you know you're going to be able to pen upper plates, lower plates of Leopards, AMX-30s, all that good stuff, and also yourself, any Conquerors, that sort of thing as well. The HESH pen is glorious. You got 530 alpha on the standard. You got 1530 meters a second shell velocity on the standard, and premium APDS and APFSDS as well, by the way, which is fantastic velocity. But you don't have to give too much lead at distance to be able to hit your targets with those rounds, which is definitely nice for the vehicle. And those velocities are better than the Conqueror, though, which is quite good. And that's what I'm talking about with the gun there, where we aimed it up at the Bagel Panzer there, or no, the Marder, and it went, you know what? Fully aimed at the Marder's big fat hull. I'm just going to hit the floor. And you sit there going, but you've got 0.25 accuracy. How did you miss that? But anyway, what do I run in terms of a crew and equipment for this Chieftain Mk5? Well, I run Born Leader, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Expert Gunner, Rapid Aim, Clutch Braking, Armour Angling, Safe Stowage, and Track Mechanic. With the Advanced Loader, the Loaded Shell Exchanger, I remembered it that time, the Reinforced Internals, and the Turbocharger. So Advanced Loader, naturally, to get the best out of the reload. Always what you want to do on this kind of vehicle. The Loaded Shell Exchanger, to get the best out of all three types of shells. You can get the better penetration, or you use the fantastic HESH rounds. Turbocharger to get the better mobility up to 54 kilometers an hour. And Reinforced Internals to really help that ammo rack, because like I say, the ammo rack is weak, and it likes getting the ammo rack damaged, which is why we also run Safe Stowage on this vehicle. Track Mechanic, because we do tend to get stuck in a bit, and it tends to get its tracks blown off all the time, so it's nice to be able to use, or sorry, get the tracks back on faster if we've already used the repair kit. with armor angling to reduce the amount of damage coming into the tank, because naturally, again, we're a fairly brawly vehicle, so reducing it by 5% is always lovely. Clutch braking and rapid aim, just to make the tank feel a little bit more nimble with the way the turret turns and the tracks. Expert Gunner to increase our chances of doing module damage by 6% when the APFSDS and the APDS go in, with Run and Gun and Snapshot to get the best out of this gun again, so we don't have to ever worry about running the gun stabilizer on the Chieftain Mk5. But again, there's plenty of ways that you could run the Chieftain Mk5 with the equipment and stuff. If you weren't that bothered about running reinforced internals, you could run the advanced armor instead to be able to, or sorry, not the advanced armor, it's now armor hardening. The armor hardening instead to reduce the amount of damage coming into the tank by 5% as well, and run that in conjunction with armor angling. You could end up running Grousers just to get the track traverse to be even better. Spore Liner maybe to reduce the effect of the explosions and stuff on the tank. Maybe they reduce the module damage by ATGMs as well, which could also help with the ammo racking thing. But yeah, there's plenty of different things you could run on this vehicle if you wanted to. It's really down to you and how you're going to get the best out of the Chieftain Mk5. So this second game is here on this map, which is Airfield. We've managed to get 6.2k damage so far with 301 assistance. It's currently 6-6, so this game is very, very equal. I decided, okay, I'm going to go after Mr. T72M1. RBRT the shot in to shut him down, and now we are after Mr. T55 AM2B. We put the HESH shell through the back end of the T55 AM2B, and that's where the HESH shell again is beautiful, because I knew being behind him, well, I could pen him with the 290 HESH pen, and we had the alpha from that HESH at 680 alpha to be able to go through and penetrate and full kill him there. Because if we'd fired the standard APDS rounds or the APFSDS rounds, we wouldn't have killed the T55 AM2B there. He would have been able to survive for one more shot of damage into someone, which would have been fairly unhelpful. So there's 3 tanks left on my team. The heavy tank, the 2 light tanks. So with the XM800T getting shut down, the other tank is currently in the base, is the Marder A1. Is that the same one from earlier on? Possibly. So we're just going to use the mobility of the Chieftain Mk5 to try and get there. And like I say, compared to what else is in this era, 54 kilometers an hour is it's not slow, right? It's just a bit sluggish to get up to that 54 kilometers an hour at the Chieftain Mk5. That's the pain. It's just that bit sluggish getting there. So once you're going at 54, it's not too bad. But generally, a lot of the vehicles in this era do go a lot faster than you, so that can be a bit of a pain point. So we finished that game with the 5 kills, 6.9k damage, ace tanker for the Chieftain with the 1537 base XP, which for an era 2 probably says a lot about the Chieftain Mk5 that's actually an ace tanker, because it's an alright game. It's an alright game. It is a pretty good game for the Chieftain Mk5, but it's not the levels that you have to get aces in quite a lot of the other era 2s where you're talking 8, 9, 10k damage, you know, or high kill games. So we're on to the third and final replay of this video, and this was actually the best one I played in this vehicle while I was grinding out as well, so the best game we had. And as I said, these games were 3 in a row. All the other games that I had were generally like the first game that we had, where I ended up getting destroyed, but we still did 5 to 6k damage. We actually had it was a nice session in this vehicle, to be honest, and we managed to knock off another 30k XP or 40k XP, something like that, in the end as we ground through. I really should put boosters on this vehicle to get more XP. Yeah, I should do that to speed up this grind, but then again, I'm a weirdo, and I like grinding, to be fair, in this game. I don't want to speed through it as often. I tend to do it when there's a new line coming out, so that, you know, naturally you guys can get to see what the new line is like, which is not the way I'd normally grind a tank. I'd normally just grind very slowly, slow but surely grind through the line, which is why we're still going to the Challenger at this point, because it's a slow but sure grind. I mean, it's still on the M1A2, to be fair, or going onto the M1A2 as I'm on the M1A1, but again, we'll get there eventually. But yeah, it's just the way I tend to play. I tend to slowly but surely make my way through the lines when I do it properly, as opposed to when new lines come out and speed through it so I can get you guys the footage so you can get to see what new lines are like when you want to go and try and grind through them. But I digress. This third game here on Siegfried Line, we're up to 1,009 damage, and that was a nice shot there from this gun. Like I say, this gun is pretty accurate, but it's one of them, again, it's one of those guns that's very typical of Cold War, where you've got 0.25 accuracy at 100 meters, which is extremely accurate. In World War II, that is pure pinpoint laser, and will hit every shot you ever want to hit. But sometimes this gun just goes, yeah, you know what? You know what? I could hit that big fat lower plate you're aiming at, but I'm going to hit the floor. And I know it's RNG just going, ha-ha, but, you know, it still likes to do it. And that can be super duper frustrating. So, we've got the shot into the T-64A, who was coming rushing around the corner. We actually got the tracking shot in, so I was hoping that someone else would manage to shut him down, which happens in the end after we get shot through his upper plate. We load the HESH round for the shot through the cupola there of the M60A2. 602 damage. Oof. We've got a VT2 in front of us, so we're going to aim for that lower plate with the HESH, but he actually drives forward a little bit, which means we hit his track, and we still splashed him for 358. Because, you know, HESH. But 684 into that lower plate. Oh, 684 into that lower plate. That's why we do it. Unfortunately, it doesn't pen that one, but 125 on the side of his turret. It tracked him in place. I'm going to load the APDS rounds this time because we've got the track there of the Centurion 9, so we want to be able to track and pen him, which keeps him pinned in place. And again, someone else managed to shut him down. Fired the HESH towards that cupola of the M60A2 again. I didn't want to stick around because I fully expected that 80 GM from that dude. But now he is reloading. We put the HESH round through his cupola again. He gets shut down. We load the APDS, the premium round, so we can get some shots into this Pharaoh's Fury, because the Pharaoh's Fury can be a bit awkward to shoot at, because you need about 400mm of penetration to go through his front end. So, naturally, loading 483 pen makes it a lot easier to go through, whereas 418 pen can sometimes just ricochet off of Pharaoh's Furies, and you sit there going, eh? But, yeah, 483 will never ricochet unless you hit an extreme angle, or get unlucky and just do tracks only. Which was what we just did. Yeah, great timing game, but we're going to try and get the shot through his lower plate, but in fact, he ends up getting shut down by the Mk 6B GAL. So we are now going to go after the T-64 that's down below. Now, we're paying attention to that light tank over in the distance, because again, that's why I'm hiding around this corner, and I'm actually going to ignore the T-64, so I can try and get, oh, that HESH round into the BMP. 710? Oh, juicy. Again, HESH rounds. They're a thing of beauty. We get the RBRT shot into the T6... Well, it wasn't an RBRT shot. We get the shot on the move into the T-64, which set him on fire. And then Mk again, the gal ends up shutting him down there. We're up to 8.3k damage, 217 assistance. There's a Weasel in the field, and the heavy tank and the medium tank on the J line. So we're just trying to hit some shots into the Weasel while keeping ourselves moving towards what left of the enemy team. He ends up turning into a position where it's a bit easier to get the shot in. Naturally, we don't hit the Weasel in a place we can pen him. We just do track damage, but by tracking him, pop goes the Weasel. With just 2 tanks left on the enemy team, we know where the T-72AV is. I've got the APFSDS in because that'll make it easier to go through the T-72AV. And I'm not really too fussed about this AV at the minute. He may be full health, but I'm also pretty healthy myself. So I'm happy to just take shots while getting up close and personal to be able to dish out more shots myself. And with him driving out there, we put a shot through the side of the AV up to 9.3k damage, trying to go wide of the pillbox so that we can get easier shots at him. He drives away from them into me, which I'll take as we put a shot into the upper plate. Hopefully finish him off now with the shot there for our first kill of this game, funnily enough. First kill of this game, and we're up to 10,060 damage. Now, that's about right. It's about right. And they've got the 1 tank left on my team, which is the AMX-30B2, who is currently in the dip, so I'm trying to get some elevation here to get better chances of getting a shot, but we end up missing, and again, I kind of wish I hadn't rushed it, because we'd have actually had an extra shot in there, but hey-ho, is what it is. We finished again with a really nice total there for the Chieftain Mk5 with the victory. 1 kill, 10,060 damage, 516 assistance damage. The ace tanker, the high caliber, the Confederate for that 1576 base XP. Really nice game there for the Chieftain Mk5, which, like I say, we had some really nice games in it, but it is a tank that I just generally find just a little bit underwhelming, and I'm going to have to go play the Conqueror in Era 2 again, because the Conqueror Mark 2 was not great, but the Conqueror Mark 1 in the tech tree I actually thoroughly enjoyed, and I found it to be far better than the Chieftain Mk5, because it was basically the same package of a tank, but just slightly better, is what it felt like anyway, as a package. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!